Welcome back to Fourth Down Focus, everyone. This is the wild card review slash divisional round preview. We're putting the episodes back together now, at least for a while, just to see how it goes. Before we get into any of the NFL business, I just want to ask everyone one question. Who's winning the national championship on Monday?
Notre Dame.
My friends at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
You're wrong. Yeah. Fuck you all. Right. Anyway, on with the NFL stuff. I'll hand it over to James as he's got the running order.
Normally we start this with our team segment, but as we all support terrible franchises, none of us actually made it this far. So we can't do that this week. So I think we'll just go straight into the playoff games of the week. So we will start with this game, which I think, well, apart from Max, who for some reason predicted the Texans, was a bit of a shock to everyone. Chargers getting absolutely dominated by the Texans, especially on defense. As you can see, Justin Herbert, 4 interceptions after throwing 3 all season, threw 4 in the same game, as they got absolutely torn apart at 32-12. I mean, Max, you would seem to be the only person who did see this coming.
I mean, I just believed in CJ Stroud personally, because I'm a big fan of his, obviously. But I mean, I did think it'd be a lot closer than it was. I did not have Justin Herbert going 1-4 in terms of obviously touchdowns and interceptions. Obviously, you can see Lad McConkey took up most of the yards as well. He had a great game, but unfortunately, no one else on the team was helping him out really. So yeah, I mean, the Texans have a tough game next. I don't know if they'll make it much further, but I'm quite happy they won, to be honest. I'm a Texans fan secretly.
I mean, yeah, McConkey, as you just heard, broke the rookie record for receiving yards in a playoff game, I believe, and it meant absolutely nothing, and they only got 12 points out of it, which is quite impressive, really. But, Caden, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I predicted the Chargers like you two. It just made sense because they've been consistently good all year, and the Texans have been a bit of a hit and miss team. But clearly, we've overlooked something because the Texans actually looked really good. And I have a sneaky feeling about them in the game against the Chiefs, but I have that about every team that ever plays the Chiefs. But good game for the receivers. Obviously, Lad McConkey breaking the records, quite cool. But I do feel bad for him because everyone else was just shy. And I just think it was a bit of a shock considering everyone was thinking the Chargers were going to win.
Kian?
Firstly, I've got absolutely no sympathy for Lad McConkey breaking that record and not winning at all, because Brock Bowers has done that all fucking year and it didn't mean anything there, did it? So, and I mean, it's typical Chargers. They've never won a Super Bowl. They never will win a Super Bowl. They're just a mediocre franchise who will always get 10 wins and then fall apart in the postseason. Following that game, I'd rather have Herbert the Pervert at quarterback than Justin Herbert. He was absolutely shocking. And yeah, I just think it was just a terrible, terrible game for the Chargers, and they should go back to San Diego where they belong.
With your rant on Brock Bowers, it wasn't a record that Brock Bowers could ever had made because it involved making the playoffs. Yeah, for me, he's a great receiver, isn't he? But Herbert, I don't know what happened there. You know, throwing more interceptions he did all season is quite impressive. The fact he only threw 3 all season was impressive. But I didn't put it on you, but Derek Stingley Jr. as well, I believe he had 2 of the interceptions. And a fun fact, Derek Stingley Jr. caught more Justin Herbert passes than Quentin Johnson did all night. So that's a good fact for you. But yeah, I don't know. The Chargers completely capitulated, but I disagree with they're just sort of stuck in NFL purgatory. That's more the Steelers, which we'll get onto in a minute. But they have a young team. They have a good head coach. I feel like they're only going to get better from here on in. If they can get some help to Lad McConkey as a receiver or even a tight end, I think they look someone like Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren in the draft. I wouldn't be surprised. But apart from that, I feel like they just need to keep building what they had. It's sort of a similar situation to a lot of teams this year, just a year too early to be anywhere near competing in the postseason. But I wouldn't say they're a team that's going to just be winning 10 games every year and get stuck. Moving on, we have the Baltimore Ravens beating the Steelers. I think we all predicted this happening, and it did for 28-14. Sorry. Not many stats to focus on, but Derrick Henry had an unbelievable game there, over 180 rushing yards. Lamar, though, Kian cemented himself as probably now the MVP favourite, as much as you may disagree.
Yeah, I mean, you've come to the wrong person, just because I love Josh Allen, but I can't really look past Lamar Jackson now. I think depends on next weekend. If Allen absolutely smashes Baltimore out the window, I think it probably switches again. It's that close. But look, it's a very good game for Lamar Jackson and Henry. And I think we all predicted the Steelers weren't going to win because, the last time Mike Tomlin won a playoff game, since then, Doug Peterson has been hired, won a Super Bowl, been fired, been hired, and been fired again. So they've really they're just stuck in that purgatory. I said it last night that I think that for me, if I was them, I'd trade some stars away, get some picks because I don't really know how you get any better with what you've got. Because every single year you're going to get enough wins to get into the playoffs, and you're not going to have a good enough draft pick to make any real difference. And the same thing's going to keep happening. How long do you stick with that mediocrity until you just finally call it quits and throw everything at it?
Caden?
I think, with the MVP conversation, Lamar has just quietly been the favourite all season. I know there's the Josh Allen thing and the best dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL. But I think now it's in the playoffs and Lamar's still playing at this level, it does fall on this game at the end of the season because one of them's going to get eliminated. And whoever that may be, it could be the one that misses out on the MVP, like Kian said. I think Lamar is just a level above for me at the moment. I love Josh Allen, but I do think Lamar is a better quarterback and probably does deserve the MVP more than Allen. But if you can't do it in the playoffs, then it's a completely different story.
Max?
I've got a few things to say. The first one being, Keane says he loves Josh Allen, but he had some choice words for him the other day when we were playing our fourth down Madden franchise. But I'll skip past that. Like you have said, I think that this the Bills-Ravens game really does come down to I think whoever wins that, personally, I think will go to the Super Bowl and will also be the MVP. This game in particular, I mean, if you look at the stats, you can see that the Steelers couldn't handle the Ravens' rush attack. Lamar had 15 attempts himself. He only completed one more pass than he had rushing attempts. And then Derrick Henry, 26 rushing attempts. They were just feeding the ball to him and just letting him do what he does best, which is just run through everyone and get big plays. So, yeah, the Steelers, I mean, I feel like if it was any other coach who went through this much mediocrity, especially in the playoffs, they'd be gone. But because it's Mike Tomlin, he's got credit in the bank. Pittsburgh love him. Everyone thinks he's a great coach. But I feel like if it was anyone else, he'd be gone because they're just consistently. Is this the 5th year in a row now that they've been knocked out in the wild card? One of them was by us, by the way. That's embarrassing. That's my favourite moment as a Cleveland Browns fan, personally. But yeah, I don't know. It was a weird game for me because it's a hate watch because I don't like either of them. But if I had to choose which one I prefer, it'd be the Ravens. So I'm glad they got the win.
I disagree with half what you said. I agree. The winner of the game will be MVP, but they will not be the team that goes to the Super Bowl.
Get Mahomes' dick out of your mouth, James, please.
Every night,
every week.
Yeah, because I'm going to come back to this when you lot are guessing up Josh Allen and Lamar when Patrick Mahomes inevitably wins another Super Bowl. I'll just be like, yeah, I was right. Yeah, no, Lamar for me is definitely MVP now. I think Josh Allen, even though they won quite comfortably against the Broncos, I just don't really think he was that impressive, for his standards anyway. He was really slow to get into that game. Again, granted, obviously the resting in the week before has something to do with that, but a few other players were rested and came straight back into it and looked as good as they were beforehand. So I don't really know how much you can use that excuse, but we'll soon find out, I guess, when these two play each other next week. But yeah, Derrick Henry's just a bit of a joke, really. I just don't know how you stop that dual threat at all. I think it's going to take someone of the Chiefs' caliber or the Lions' caliber to stop this team because I don't think the Bills' defense got enough to stop that dual threat at all. And
what about the ambulance penitentiary?
The what?
The ambulance penitentiary, mate. That'll win them this game.
I'm going to swiftly move on from that one. But yeah, no, for me, just the Ravens are way better. Steelers, as you said, sort of stuck in that purgatory now where they just can't win a playoff game, and it's just what's the point of getting there every year just to lose in the wild card? I sort of agree with what you said, but it depends what stars you're talking about. TJ Watson, I feel like you can and can't get rid of him because the defense sort of leans on him in a way, but at the same time, I think it still would be quite good even if he wasn't there. I think they'll probably keep people like George Pickens around for now. But yeah, for me, Steelers stuck in a rut sort of situation, and the Ravens looking very, very dangerous going into that Bills game.
Are the Steelers wasting TJ Watt's prime?
Yes.
Yeah,
He's not
probably.
on a single playoff game with them
I think so, but I don't know where he'd go.
anywhere.
We'll have him.
Anywhere that's going to win a playoff game, I don't know.
Welcome to
Okay, we won't have
Cincinnati.
him.
Moving on. The Broncos against the Bills. So pretty much from what I expected, I tried to be edgy with my prediction, and it went the way I probably thought it was going to. Quite a simple win for the Bills in the end. It was close for a while. I think first half people thought it may go a different way, but then Josh Allen actually woke up and started playing properly, and then it was quite an easy win in the end for them. Caden, you can start us off on this game. What do you think?
Yeah, I still have no idea why you went to predict the Broncos when
I told you I had to pick an edgy prediction.
you didn't have to. And if you were going to pick an ugly prediction, why would you choose the one that was like a nailed-on blowout?
Why
Very
not?
silly. Yeah, Bo Nix, he's not that guy, unfortunately. I don't know what you're watching. He's got no bottle. And Josh Allen had a field day against the Broncos defense, which has been quite solid all year. But I didn't expect anything else, really. There was a tiny bit of me that was like, oh, Broncos haven't been in the playoffs for so long. We don't know what they're going to be like. But yeah, I'm not shocked that they got absolutely battered. It's nice to see Josh Allen playing well as well. I think with the MVP on the line in the next game, he could step up a little bit or he could crumble under the pressure. But always nice to see the Broncos get knocked out in the wild card. And if it was Cincinnati there, we would have beaten the Bills.
Max?
Look, what I don't get is why everyone's calling Josh Allen the so-called MVP. He got benched for Mitch Trubisky in this game, so surely. No, I'm obviously joking. Yeah, James obviously is going to get some pelters for picking the Broncos, but I mean, there was that one
As he
moment.
should.
There was that
It
one
was literally
moment.
1% chance, 99% faith. I did say that at the time.
There was that one moment where Troy Franklin caught the pass from Bo Nix, and everyone was like, "Oh, maybe," and then Josh Allen just turned it on like he always does. I do have some concerns about the Bills' defense. Like James said, I don't know if they're good enough to stop a much higher powered offense like the Ravens. But I mean, every year when the Browns get eliminated, I become a Bills fan in the playoffs. I've done it for like the past 4 years, and I hope they beat the Ravens, but I don't think they will personally.
Kian?
No, I've got so much to say on this game, but I'll keep it short and sweet. The last time I watched the Broncos in the playoffs, they were lifting the Lombardi above their heads. So this was so nice to see. 31 unanswered points just solidified for me that the Broncos are the most overrated team in the NFL. Anyone who thought they were going to win that game needs their head check in. I just don't see what anyone saw in them. Even when they went 7-0 up, I had no hope for the Broncos. Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. James Cook, they definitely the right decision to bench him after he got all them yards. Certainly can't have him injured. He's such a huge part of that attacking offense. And a big shout out to not my friend, but I'd love him to be my friend. Khalil Shakir is a unbelievable wide receiver, and he doesn't seem to get any praise ever.
Khalil
Khalil Shakir played very well, and Damar Hamlin got a pick. Let's not forget that.
I'd like to question Khalil Shakir being an unbelievable receiver. I wouldn't say he's even top 20 in the league, but we'll swiftly move on from that.
He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable after the catch.
Yeah, but so is basically every other receiver.
Bollocks. Look at Tyler Lockett.
Well, yeah, unless they're afraid of taking hits. Yeah, no. As I said at the time when I predicted it, I didn't actually believe it. I just wanted to be edgy, and it backfired massively. As Max said, I thought when that absolute dime over to Franklin went through, I was like, hang on a minute, I might have a chance here. And then the Bills actually started playing like the Bills again, and it was quickly dissolved. But yeah, I mean, James Cook, I think, was a standout for me more than Josh Allen in this game. As Max said, I just don't think that Bills defense can hold up against a better offense. At the end of the day, like, it's all well and good. You can start Marvin Mims, but when you've got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson to deal with next week, it's going to be a whole different ball game. But yeah, pretty straightforward win for the Bills. I think most people expected. Even I probably expected it as much as I didn't want it to happen. Just for a laugh to see some random upset, but we didn't really get any of them this week, unfortunately. So Hopefully we'll get one next week, but I don't really see where it could be. But yeah, quite straightforward win for the Bills in the end. Next up, the Commanders beat the Bucks with a last-second field goal, I believe it was, with a doink off the post. Kian, you can start us off with this one.
I'm sorry, right? You've said all year that Jaden Daniels isn't that guy. He absolutely is that guy.
He's not.
That first down he got at the end of the game that basically clinched it. All they had to do was kick the field goal. Was so clutch, and I don't think Bo Nix does it. So if you think that Bo Nix is better than him, then you've got serious issues. And he's thrown to Terry McLaurin, who is some player, by the way. But yeah, I think it was a good game. You know, I thought the Buccaneers were going to win it. Baker obviously fumbled the ball, and that was a huge turning point. I think if he doesn't fumble that there, it's the game to win. But look, the Commanders are through. I think they'll probably lose their next game. But look, Jaden Daniels is that guy. I'm happy to say it.
I'm happy to disagree with you. He's still not beat a good team, and he won't because he won't beat the Lions. Yeah, I'll go next. I'm still not impressed. I just think there's so many bailouts if you look at their season where it's been at the last second, like hope, like the Hail Mary with just a hope and pray, and it went lucky. You know, you get a field goal at the end, albeit he did the work for the first. I just don't think they've beaten anyone entirely impressive all season. I think the Bucks defense is probably one of, if not the worst, that went into the playoffs. I don't rate it at all. And I just think when you got like Terry McLaurin has been unbelievable this season, and I think it's been a large reason of why Daniels look so good. And I think that's why his stats have been as good as they are, especially throwing the ball, because McLaurin is so reliable to just catch and get the yards after the catch. You just know you've got that guaranteed weapon to go to. But I think they're going to get absolutely bounced by the Lions in the next round. It's not even going to be close. I wouldn't even be surprised if Daniels doesn't get one passing touchdown, and I really hope they lose. Max?
I'd just like to say that I'm sick of the disgusting bias that is shown on this podcast, mainly from you two. This is supposed to be a professional sports podcast, and you're just always hating on the Broncos and the Chargers. James is always shitting on the Commanders. Cowboys, fair enough. But just stop with the bias. Admit that a good team is a good team.
They're not a good team.
They are a good team.
Yeah, they're a decent team.
My question to you, James, is you're saying that they haven't beat a good team. Well, the best team the Broncos beat is also the Buccaneers. So why is Bo Nix a saviour and Jaden Daniels isn't a good quarterback?
You literally just said it. I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. He is a good quarterback. He'll be a great quarterback for his whole career. I just think Bo Nix had a better season, especially considering Bo Nix has Marvin Mims to throw the ball to, and he's got Daniels got Terry McLaurin. It's quite a big difference.
Why are you just forgetting that Cortland Sutton exists, by the way? He's
very good. But Sutton's nowhere near.
This is what I mean.
He's just comparing
nowhere near
third string receiver to the top commander. Like outside of McLaurin, Jaden Daniels has had pretty much no one apart from Zach Ertz, who's a veteran, and he's been quite reliable. That's it.
Bo Nix actually has
and the Commanders' O-line is definitely worse than the Broncos' O-line.
I think they're both pretty bad.
They're not great, but the Commanders
both pretty awful.
Anyway, this game, I was expecting a little bit more from it. I thought it'd be more of a shootout, to be honest, but it ended up being quite quiet, at least in the first half. Daniels, that clutch play at the end, genuinely had shades of playoff Mahomes. Like, not comparing to Mahomes just yet, but it had the same vibes as that kind of play that Patrick pulls off in the playoffs every year. I'm quite sad that the Bucks have got James. Stop making faces, or I'll fucking lamp you. Right?
So I can't believe you just compared Jaden Daniels to Patrick Mahomes.
I've just said I'm not comparing them.
Jaden Daniels is a lot more likable, to be fair.
Yeah, true. There is that.
He'd not be like Kermit the Frog either. Anyway, point is, I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, Baker and the Bucks have gone out, and that makes me quite sad because everyone knows I still love Baker Mayfield, and I'd like to see him go further in the playoffs, but it is what it is. I do think that the Lions are probably going to batter the Commanders, especially because the defense isn't great, especially the secondary. But we'll see what happens. Who knows?
Caden?
Yeah, I mean, was I the only person to predict the Commanders on the predictions?
Yeah, I think so.
I had the Bucks. It was the only one I got wrong.
I can't believe that no one else went for the Commanders, considering that Jaden Daniels has got a point to prove for people like James, some dickheads, who
Still
think
not
that they're not a good team. If they're not a good team, they wouldn't be winning playoff games. It's literally that simple. It doesn't matter who you're playing in the playoffs. It's always a hard game just because of the pressure for what's at stake. So I'm seeing that one of the rookie quarterbacks that's been held in high regard is winning these games, and I'm seeing another one that's losing them and getting absolutely battered. So if that's not enough for you to be convinced that he's a good quarterback and the Commanders are a good team, then I think you're a lost cause.
I like to
think
clarify
James
that
is
one
the
of the
only
quarterbacks
person-
played Tampa and one played the Bills.
I think James is the only person in this camp. You said people like James. I think he's the only one I've seen who doesn't rate Jaden Daniels.
I don't
Yeah.
rate him. I just don't think he's as good as everyone makes him out to be.
Why'd you slag him off every week then?
Because he plays for the Commanders.
Exactly, it's biased.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I thought this was common knowledge. It's like Kean slates like teams like the Chargers who have been really good all year and he just hated on them all year.
I can't do this podcast anymore.
Well, they're in
I'm not
Cancun,
doing
mate.
it anymore, I'm just editing it.
They're in Cancun, so who cares?
Oh god, Max, mate, there's bias here because you hated on you hated on the Ravens all year.
No, but
Steelers
even
all
when-
year.
No matter what team in the AFC North is good, I will always point out when they're playing good. Even
You think Myles Garrett's DPOY, so there must be some
he is
bias involved.
DPOY, watch.
We'll move on.
We do our NFL Honors episode coming soon, by the way, everyone.
We'll move on. This game, to me, there isn't really much to talk about. The Eagles just won and the Packers weren't very good. I was trying to look for stats and I just sort of focused on the running backs. They both had decent games. Apart from Saquon, he probably cost a lot of people a lot of money by sliding down and not getting his touchdown at the end. But A-star for sportsmanship, I guess, but he's probably on people's hit list now after doing that. I mean, yeah, I don't know if anyone... I'll just open it up because I really haven't got much to say about this game at all because it was really boring.
And also, none of us were watching it. We were all playing Madden while it was on.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
I
like,
had it on the screen.
Yeah, it was there. It was on.
it was there, but I was putting 72 points on Caden's head on Madden, so I was a bit busy.
Still not on that.
Yeah, does anyone got anything to say about this game? Because I genuinely just
No,
like it was just quite a routine win for the Eagles that we already expected.
I think that Eagles fan's been sacked from his work. That's probably the most exciting part about this game.
Yeah,
I don't think the Eagles were as good as I thought they would be. Which
they were.
is, I don't think that they're as big of a favourite going into the Rams game as a lot of people would have initially had them, because that Green Bay team was not good. And that upsets me quite a bit because I quite like the Packers for no apparent reason. I just like them. And the Eagles they could have beat them by like 40 points. They were really not good at all. So, bit
The
worrying.
Packers and Chargers are sort of similar teams. Like they're nearly there, but they need a bit more. And they're all quite young as well.
The Packers could benefit from having one like main receiver, because they've got loads of good receivers, but I think they need an elite receiver.
I think they should go get T. Higgins.
Do they bring Devontae back?
Is T. Higgins an elite level receiver?
Yes.
He's just in Chase's shadow at the moment.
I think he'll be a wide receiver one on that team.
He'd be a wide receiver one on most teams, I think.
I don't know, it's weird, but I feel like they need someone to replace Devante instead of just getting 3 people to replace Devante, and they're all just
get Devante back.
All that. I don't think he's quite what he was when he was last in Green Bay.
No, not at all. So I guess we'll just move on from that one. Just quite a straightforward win for the Eagles, which we probably all saw coming. Then finally, the one that probably not, well, I don't know, it was a weird one. I think we ended up sort of moving towards this being the more likely outcome, but I don't think anyone really saw it being this bad. But the Vikings absolutely torn apart by the Rams. The stats I'd like to highlight were the defense. I've just shown it here. This isn't even half of it, especially with the sacks. 9 sacks in one game is a playoff record, tied, I believe it was. Just dominant on defense. Didn't give Darnold a second at any given time. For Jared Verse was excellent all season, and last night was unbelievable again with that scoop up touchdown as well. I feel like the only way this game would have gone differently, I don't know about you lot, would have been if that sort of fumble return for a touchdown was given as a return and it went to 10-10. I feel like it might have been a different game if that had happened. But Max, I'll let you start off. What do you think about this game?
It just felt like the entire time the Vikings were chasing the game. And Darnold, in the last 2 games, probably the biggest of his career, has absolutely shat his pants, as Kean kept saying last night on his TikTok live that we were doing at halftime. He just absolutely cacked it in the big moment. And I mean, the big question I think coming out of this game is less about the playoffs and more about what happens to Sam Darnold now. Does he lose a bit of money on his new contract to the Vikings? Does he go elsewhere? Do they stick with JJ McCarthy? That's what I think is the most interesting thing coming from this game.
Kian, I mean, I did warn you, and you did end up sticking with the Vikings about Sam Darnold, but I think in reality, deep down, you probably thought this might happen.
I mean, on our original episode, I predicted the Rams. But then obviously for the last couple of days, I've been moving close more and more towards the Vikings. But yeah, I mean, look, Darnold in the big games, he's proven it against the Lions. He's proven against this. He's just not up to that standard. I had that whole game to remind me of the clip when he was in New York where he said he can see ghosts. He was just having an absolutely terrible, terrible game. I mean, I know he didn't have much time in the pocket, but even if he did have time in the pocket, he was picking out blue jerseys. He could be colorblind, the poor lad, because he was honestly having a shocker last night. I don't see the Vikings sticking with him. I think it's JJ McCarthy's time now. And I think the Rams could potentially be the team to pull off that shock in the next round.
Caden?
Yeah, I mean, I was really confident in the Vikings, and I don't really know why. I went all in on Sam Darnold. I thought they were going to get the win, and I forgot how good the Rams can actually be. It's just quite unfortunate seeing how poorly they played. Rams can actually be.
Momentum's a scary thing, isn't it? I think, they came into this with a lot of momentum and they made it count. I also think that Vikings O-line did Darnold absolutely no favours, getting sacked with 9 sacks. Again, a lot of it's him holding on for the ball for too long. But at some point, the Bucs got to stop with that O-line and just protect him a bit better because it was relentless from the Rams all night. But yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward one for the Rams in the end. So that was it 105 yards from Stafford in the first quarter. It sort of just settled in straight away, and it was just exactly what they needed to get through that whole game. And it's also all it was, because by then they basically won the game and they just held it out for the rest of the time. So that's our review of the games this week. We'll move on to some news, because there was a few bits of news that came out throughout the week. This one was the one I sort of highlighted. Mike McCarthy has left the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how long it was. Does anyone know how many years it was in charge? It's quite a while, I believe.
Yeah, it was quite a while, but I don't know how long.
Yeah, quite a while. A mutual agreement. I'm assuming it was sort of a case of you go or we'll sack you. But Ian, is it probably the right move for the Cowboys? I feel like it's probably been quite overdue.
Definitely overdue. I think that he is not really. That situation was not good for him. If you look at his CV, I do think that he'll improve any team he's been on. Up until this year, he had all winning seasons with Jerry Jones as not quarterback. Certainly that wasn't his quarterback. With Jerry Jones, with Jerry Jones as GM. So, that's never a good situation. And if they do go for Deion Sanders, then they're going to be in serious trouble.
Max?
I'm surprised by this, to be honest, because I thought Jerry Jones was destined to just give him a lifetime contract. I didn't feel like he was ever going to fire McCarthy, but he's gone. Apparently, the leading candidate is Coach Prime, like Ian said. Don't know how that one's going to turn out. But if the Cowboys want to trade up to get Shador from the Browns, then we'll take the picks, to be honest, because I don't really want him. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. Interesting.
Caden?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a weird one. It did feel a bit strange that they've done it, because, like I said, he's had all winning seasons and whatever, and he didn't have his number one quarterback for pretty much all of the season. So I feel like they can't really get someone in immediately that's going to do much better. I feel like it's just a bit of a stupid, rash decision.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an awkward one, because you feel like it's probably overdue, because they just can't. They're sort of the same with the Steelers. They can't just win in the playoffs at all. They just struggle so badly when they get there. If it is Dion that ends up taking the job, then yeah, as Kian said, they're in big trouble, because I wouldn't be surprised if there's some rumors if he does take over of a potential trade with either Tennessee or Cleveland involving Dak Prescott to get that first or second pick. And
No, I
take
don't want that. I don't want. Just give me picks.
Here we
I
go.
feel like Tennessee might bite on Dak Prescott as a potential trade offer.
That'd be
But-
interesting.
It'd be interesting to see what they do. But if it is Dion, then yeah, I'm going to laugh all podcast next week if he has been put in by then, because it'll mean the end of the Cowboys for good and it'll be great fun. But yeah, I feel like McCarthy's probably quite overly hated, and with Jerry Jones, he's just not got much he can do really. But hopefully, find somewhere where he can actually prove his worth, I guess, even if he didn't do that already.
Where do we think McCarthy goes?
He's on our shortlist, but I don't think he'll be ours. I think all our eggs are in the Ben Johnson basket.
What other teams need a head coach?
A lot.
Jets, Jags,
Bears,
Do the Bears still need one?
Bears.
yeah, but I think they'll get the Notre Dame guy.
Yeah, Jets still need one. There's
I,
quite a
could-
few.
I feel like he's going to get another head coaching job.
Yeah, he definitely will.
He deserves one.
I wouldn't be shocked if he had one last dance with Aaron Rodgers in New York.
That'd be interesting.
Well, a team who doesn't need a new head coach because they've just found one. The Patriots hire Mike Vrabel as their new head coach, and for me, I think this is a brilliant move from the Patriots. It's just someone who knows New England. He knows what they need to do to win, and I fear that Drake May is about to turn into the next Tom Brady, and we have to deal with this insufferable Patriots, whatever it's going to be. Won't be as good as it was last time, but I feel like this could be a very, very good appointment for the Patriots. Max, you can start us off as well.
I mean, first of all, I'm just quite sad that Vrabel's no longer part of the Browns, even though he wasn't really the key member of the staff. I think you've jumped the gun a little bit there, saying that they've got Vrabes in, so they're going to be a dynasty again. Still got a lot.
He's got that thing about
on that team. A lot of holes on that team. They need a full first round of draft picks just to sort things out there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good appointment. Like I said, I'm just sad that he's not part of the Browns anymore. I quite like Vrabes. Good coach.
Kid.
Yeah, it does feel like a step in the right direction. And Drake May is obviously quite a talented quarterback. If they can actually start getting his confidence up a bit more, get some better offensive linemen in, just try build that squad a little bit, they could potentially be a good team again. Not sure about another dynasty. I think that's a bit much, but I think they do actually have potential now to be quite a solid team going into next year.
I was going to add as well. I think, may jump the gun, but Drake May, I think, just sort of unrelated to my Vrabel, but I think he's got the most upside of any quarterback taken in this draft.
I agree.
I think as far as potential to be great, Drake May is above all of the quarterbacks in this class. They're all going to be great, I think, but Drake May, I think, has the potential to be a superstar quarterback in this league.
The only problem I have with it is that the way that the NFL's going now, you've got to be dual threat as a quarterback. You've got to be able to move, and I feel like he's the least mobile, especially from this year's draft class, compared to Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix.
You say less mobile than Caleb? I thought Drake May's got quite a decent amount of rushing yards, though.
He's not terrible, but I feel like he's more of a pocket passer than the others, and I feel like he should probably up his game outside of the pocket. I don't know, but I agree with you. He was my QB1 in that draft, and I hope he does well, to be honest.
Kian?
I think that Mike Vrabel is literally the perfect Patriots coach. I mean, it sort of stems back to when he found the loopholes in the rules when they played against the Patriots in the day the dynasty died. He killed the dynasty and now wants to create his own. But yeah, perfect Patriots head coach. I mean, obviously, like you say, he knows the situation there. And I do think that Drake May is probably the best quarterback he's ever coached. When you look at his situations in Tennessee, what did he have? Tannehill and Mariota. So,
not
he did well with them as well. He got them into decent positions, got them into the playoffs. So I'll be interested to see how Vrabel can do with Drake May.
Right. So that is our sort of review of the week gone. And now we move on to the divisional round. So there are only 4 matchups this week. So it'll be a lot shorter predictions than you're probably used to from us. But we'll go a bit more in depth than we normally do if we've got the time to today. So we'll start off the Ravens versus the Bills, and I feel like this one's going to cause a lot of conversation between us four. So I'll say, Caden, you can start 'cause I feel like you'll have the least opinionated thing on this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a Super Bowl quality matchup, and I almost wish that the Ravens were in the NFC instead of our division, so it could have been. But I feel like this could be the best game of all the playoffs, even with some of the games that could happen coming up. I think for me, the Bills take it just because they've just been on such a high all year. I can't remember as the only team to take down the Chiefs in the regular season, and I'm hoping they can get past the Ravens and then do it again in the playoffs. But you can't write off the Ravens, of course. That offense is ridiculous when you've got Lamar playing as well as he is, and then obviously Derrick Henry's just an absolute unit. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I will take the Bills.
Don't forget Bo Nix beating the Chiefs, mate.
Chiefs backups.
Max.
I'm not being ignorant, by the way. I'm just looking on the Bet365 at the spread from this game. They've got it at +1 to the Bills, which is, I mean, it's probably the closest spread I've seen all season. To be honest, it's basically evens. I think the Ravens the Ravens offense against the Bills defense is a lot more of an unfair matchup than the Bills offense versus the Ravens defense, if that makes any sense. I think the Ravens are more solid on both sides of the ball, and that'll probably win in the game. I mean, I don't know, because I do love Josh Allen, and I have been saying all year that he's probably MVP, and then Lamar just snuck up on him in the last few weeks. So I'm going to go Ravens, but I hope the Bills win.
Kian?
Sorry, I was also just having a little scroll trying to find some stuff. I mean, look, the Ravens have been taken into shootouts this year, most notably with the Bengals, who obviously Bengals have a terrible defense. So, but the Bengals have a good offense, and I think it's a very similar situation with the Bills, but they've got a slightly better defense. The Bills have proven all year that they can stick around in shootout games. If this does become a shootout in the playoffs, I think it's Josh Allen and the Bills' day. If the Ravens can contain them, I think it could be a struggle. I'm going to pick the Bills solely because it's at Orchard Park. I think it's the hardest stadium to go into minus Arrowhead. You know, it's a very, very rowdy, situation there. If it's snowing as well, that's another thing to look at. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting one. I'm going to take the Bills, probably a bit biased just because I love Josh Allen, but I think it's probably going to be game of the playoffs.
Has there been a week since like November when Kian's not mentioned it snowing in Buffalo?
No.
Every week, man.
I'm going to sort of split us right down the middle here, 2 for 2. I'm taking the Ravens to win this game. I just don't see many weaknesses in this Baltimore team at all, apart from maybe the receiver room. I don't know what the Zay Flowers situation is. Is he out for the whole playoffs, or was he just out for that last week? Does anyone know?
I read earlier that we'll see
Okay.
how he's going.
Either way, I just think with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that's enough as it is to terrorize that Bills defense. You know, Bateman and Co have sort of stepped up in the last few weeks. I'm just not convinced by that Bills defense at all. I say it's still a great unit, but I just don't think it's anything, as Max sort of, as you said, like the offense defense sort of matchups. It's a bit more weighted towards Baltimore, and I think Josh Allen's going to have a struggle with defensive players like Carl Hamilton and Co just at the back, just trying to get through that sort of secondary defense. Is going to be difficult. So for me, I'm going to take the Ravens. As Max says, it's not really an upset, but I feel like a lot of people are expecting the Bills to win this game. But I'm going to take the Ravens to advance to the AFC Championship and play. Well, we'll find out who we think we're going to play in a minute, because next up we have the Texans and the Chiefs. Max, you can start us off.
I was looking at the spread on this game as well. It's not quite as even. 8.5, obviously, in favor of the Chiefs. I mean, what are the chances that the Texans pull it off, especially in this season when they've not been that good? The O-line has struggled. Obviously, I don't think the Chiefs have the best pass rush in the league, but I think the Chiefs will probably pull off a routine playoff win, like everyone expects them to. And I'm going to pick them. It's boring, but I'm just trying to figure out like the chances of how the Texans could pull this off somehow. Maybe if it goes into an absolute shootout, they get lucky, get the last one, I don't know, win by field goal. I don't know, but I really hope the Texans win.
Kian?
I'm gonna be edgy, right? I'm gonna say the Texans. I don't believe that's gonna happen for 1 minute. But Patrick Mahomes hasn't thrown a ball since Christmas Day in a professional game. This is me really clutching at straws. The Chiefs have been pushed to limits that we've never really seen them pushed to in the regular season. A lot of teams have taken them down to the wire, including us. If it wasn't for a botched snap, we'd probably have won that game. They're not performing at their best level. I know they always turn it on in the playoffs. It's the Chiefs. But look, the Texans and CJ Stroud have been widely criticized this year for their slump. What a better way to shut everyone up than to go into Arrowhead and win the game? They've got a lot to prove, and I've got a slight feeling, but I don't think it will happen. But give me the Texans.
Is this a me versus me with the Broncos sort of prediction? Like
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think it will happen. I think they've got a higher chance of going into Arrowhead and winning than the Broncos had going into Orchard Park and winning.
Yeah, probably. I'm just straight up taking the Chiefs. My only thing is with the only reason I sort of believe in I think this will be a very low scoring game, right? Because they're both really good defenses, but the offenses have been a bit slow this season, and especially after that game against the Chargers, that's quite a good offense. It all things good. I know it's not got the most quality in it, the Chargers, but they've been good in parts during the season. And to get 4 picks on, was it the quarterback with the least interceptions thrown this season as far as Boo played actually every single game? I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I doubt many have got less than 3 interceptions. So I think it could cause issues 100%. That Texans defense is why they're so good. And we knew that going into the season. It wasn't really so much on the offense. It was more that defense is fantastic. And I think it'll be a low scoring game because the Chiefs defense is also really good. But I just don't see a world where the Chiefs lose this game at Arrowhead. I don't see a world where the Chiefs lose any of these games. I feel like they only really play 2-3 games a season, the Chiefs, and they've got the number 1 seed, the best record, without really having to do anything of substance. And I think this will be another game where they just sort of just breathe through it. Will take a bit of work, but they should get the win. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Caden?
Texans, Mahomes is washed.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess we'll move on to the NFC then. We'll start with the Rams Eagles, which go in order of the thing. And I'm going to go first here. And I'm going to make an edgy prediction as well. I'm going to take the Rams to beat the Eagles. I don't know why. I just think that Rams defense is so good. And as much as the Eagles defense is really good as well, I think there's more firepower in the Rams offense. That if the Eagles stall out, like they did a bit against Green Bay, the Rams will punish it as they did last night against, albeit nowhere near as good of a quality team. But I just think the Rams, with the momentum they've brought into the playoffs, I think they've definitely got the best momentum of any team going into this playoffs, 100%. They've just been on form for ages since that awful slump at the start of the season. I feel like they've won like 8 or 9 games in a row to end the season. That's something silly like that. And I think, we've lost Kian.
I feel like that happens once every episode.
Yeah, probably does. But yeah, I'm taking the Rams. I just think the sort of momentum and Sean McVay, I just think they've got enough to beat this Eagles team. And if the Eagles are off it again, I feel like they're going to really struggle. And I'm going to go with the Rams to beat the Eagles. Max?
See, I was going to say that this is an edgy pick, but I actually think that the majority of us are going to take the Rams. And I have been saying for a while that the Eagles and the Ravens is going to be the Super Bowl. But just after watching the Rams last night, I don't know. I mean, it's Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp versus AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, 2 big receivers on either side. And you've got the experience of Matt Stafford. This could be his last playoff run. So, you might be extra motivated. Jalen Hurts is a lot more mobile than him. He can rush with the ball. Stafford, not really capable anymore. He's like 37 or whatever. The defense is both really good, like James said. I think the pass rush is better for the Rams, but the secondary is where the Eagles could win the game. So Stafford will have to keep it tight. I'm going to pick the Rams.
Kian?
Yeah, I'm also going to pick the Rams. I
that?
just
Okay.
don't. I've not really got a feeling that the Eagles can get it done. I know it's in Philadelphia. I know obviously they're the highest seed, but I was so impressed by the Rams last night. That defense really, really turned it on. Like Max has said, it could be Stafford's last playoff run. I think Stafford is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's already got one ring, so why not go get a second? I do think it's going to be a force to re-reckon with. And as one of you mentioned, as I was just getting kicked out by my Wi-Fi, if the Eagles' offense stalls, then the Rams will punish it more than Green Bay did. So yeah, give me the Eagles. No, not the Eagles. Fuck's sake. Give me the Rams, and I think that they could also be a force to be reckoned with in that championship game. It wouldn't shock me to see them in New Orleans on February the 9th.
Yeah, it was me who said about stalling. Yeah, I just think it's such a quick thing to happen. If they do it again, I feel the Rams will punish it. Cade?
I can't believe this, but we've got a
Sweet.
sweep for the Rams.
Oh,
After I thought Green Bay were going to be a bit of a problem for the Eagles, and we got through that. But it almost feels inevitable that they're just going to slip up again and have another unlucky run in the playoffs. And the Rams, they just look really good. And they had a bit of a weird season in the regular season because they had a lot of injuries early on and whatever. But they've kicked on in the last few weeks and they genuinely look like Super Bowl contenders now. So I don't think it's a shock at all that we've all picked the Rams based on what we've seen before. But if you said that at the start of the season, then it's a different story. But I have a lot of faith in the Rams now. I think Stafford might get the business done.
Is this all just recency bias?
potentially, yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. It's about
To be
form.
fair, I mentioned it on last week's that the Eagles and Sirianni have got away with it so many times, being in close games and stuff like that. I don't think their luck can carry on. Sirianni is not a good coach. If he takes them to the Super Bowl and wins it, then I do believe in miracles. So I do think that this is going to be the night where Sirianni and the Eagles really slip up, and I don't think you can keep them on after that with the team they've got.
I think the key to victory for the Rams is just if you defend really solidly and don't let the Eagles get down the field, they simply cannot tush push into the end zone. They won't score.
I think if you can neutralize the run game with the Eagles, they're screwed because that's half of it. They lean on safe zones too much.
And that
If they,
front line,
if they can neutralize the run, which they did quite well last night, then I think they'll be absolutely fine. I also would like to point out, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe the Rams are 0-4 to start the season, or 1-4, something silly.
The night it changed was the night they beat us. I was having this conversation with
the
Dave
Vikings
Derrick
game
last
wasn't
night.
anything.
No, well, they would have slipped to like holding the number one pick if they'd have lost to us.
Because there was that rumor when they were like 0-4, do they trade Stafford and
yeah
the quarterback?
they're definitely not going to have as much success as they had last night, by the way.
No, 100%. Well, it won't be as easy.
Like the Vikings.
Then again, the Vikings defense was really good.
The Vikings O-line is not as good as the Eagles one, and Aaron Jones is not quite on Saquon's level.
But then, if we're flipping that, the Packers pass rush is not as good as the Rams pass rush.
Yeah,
there is
so
that.
They'll cause some problems.
There
is that. Right. It's a really weird one.
We will move on to, if I hear any edgy prediction on this, I'll be fuming. The Commanders versus the Lions. There should probably just be a one-word answer segment, in my opinion. But Keane, you can start us off.
I'm gonna go with the Lions. I've already had 2 underdog victories in this game, so there's not going to be 3. I'll probably not even be 1. But I just think that the Lions is their year. I've just got a feeling. They were so close last year. Obviously, lost out in a championship game. No 49ers to take them down this time, but we could see an unbelievable Stafford redemption arc in the championship game, which would be very, very exciting. But yeah, I think the Lions get through. It just depends on what the Rams do.
I think we'd also all love to see the Rams play the Lions in the NFC Championship.
Oh, 100%.
I think that's everyone's dream scenario there. Max?
I'm predicting an absolute shootout, I think. But if it's coming down to a shootout, at the minute, both teams' defenses are not what they can be. I mean, Washington's isn't great anyway. The Lions have got a lot of injuries. I feel like it's all going to be offense, and if it comes down to just who's got the best offense, it's obviously Detroit. I think the Lions are going to win a shootout. I think we're going to get like a 60-point game between like obviously combined.
Ken?
Yeah, I think this game's going to be closer than a lot of people think. I think it will be a shootout. Two of the better offenses in the NFL, and the Lions should win it. I do think they will, but I think given the all or they're by far the best team in the NFC, I think that'll get to their heads a little bit, so they're almost expecting a win. So you've just got to get over the line essentially and not slip up against someone who's going to be wanting to win in his rookie season. So yeah, Lions. It should just be quite simple.
This is going to be a statement win from the Lions, in my opinion. I think they're going to absolutely shut down the Commanders. They've needed a win. I guess the Vikings was part of it, where they sort of showed like, yeah, we are still as good as you think we are. And I think this will be the even more proof that they are as good as everyone thinks. They've still got injuries to the defense, and yet they limited the Vikings to 9 points in that game, albeit the Rams did it as well. But still, with the season on the line, so sort of, it's just an awkward environment, and they dealt with it really, really well. And I think this will be an easy win for the Lions. I just can't see Daniels having the time and the sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but the time to do what he does, he won't have it against that Lions defense, injuries and all. And I think he's really going to struggle with, if they can just sort out Terry McLaurin, he's not really got anyone else to throw the ball to. So I think, give me the Lions by quite a decent margin, I think. So that's our predictions for the divisional round of games. So we'll also come back to this in next week's episode when we talk about the AFC and NFC Championship games. But to end the episode, as we always do, I've got a couple of questions. First one was actually suggested by a viewer on one of Kean's TikTok lives. Was who is the best quarterback in the league apart from the best four, with the best four being Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was.
So does anyone want to volunteer and go first? Because I'm still
I'm
thinking.
not going first.
I need to know if we're talking in general or this season.
I'm going to go in. I think we should go in general rather than
in
just
general,
this year.
yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm going to say Justin Herbert then. If we're taking away his last game in the playoffs, then everyone's been saying all season that he's like an outside shout for the MVP. So I think it's Justin Herbert.
You know what? I'm going to go quick. I'm going to agree with you. I said it all season. I was banging on about the Chargers all season, as you know, but I do think they're as good people made out to be. And they said a bad day in the playoffs, but Justin Herbert said three interceptions all year. Again, ignoring the game in the wild card. He's just been really consistently good, and I feel like now with Harbaugh, he's finally been unlocked to his full potential. And I feel like getting another good receiver or a tight end to throw the ball to, and I think he's going to have a really, really enjoyable season next year. So yeah, I'm going to go Justin Herbert as well.
I'm sort of not answering the question correctly here, but I know it's going to sound wild, but I do have a bit of reasoning behind it. I'm taking Stafford, right, for the sole point that, if you looked at him in Detroit, you could always see he had the potential to win that Super Bowl, and that was a very, very poor Detroit team at that time. And then he made the move. He was so much better than Goff was in that Rams team, and he's got a ring. I think he's unbelievably consistent. I honestly think it's Stafford, but I see why people don't, but I think he's definitely up there.
I don't think it's that outrageous, to be fair. He's a very good quarterback and has been for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, you got an answer for us?
Yeah, I feel like Justin Herbert is the safe answer just because of how consistently good he's been. Obviously, he didn't have a great game last time out, but just not going to take anything away from the fact that he's a really good quarterback. Stafford as well is also a great shout, considering how good he's been for so many years, and he got that ring with the Rams. But I feel like a lot of the quarterbacks now, it's going to be a case of you look back in 3 years' time, and that's when you can really start to debate them being at that level, when you've got quarterbacks like Stroud, Daniels, Bo Nix, and even like Drake May, who've all got potential to become superstars in the NFL. I feel like the young quarterbacks are going to be overlooked a little bit for now, but in a few years' time, it could easily be someone like Drake May.
I think there's got to be a shout. I think there's got to be a shout for Will Levis here.
I think another thing on Stafford I didn't mention. I think he's really the only one from like the pocket passer era that's translated to this new quarterback era and has still performed.
I feel like you could put Jared Goff into that bracket. As
Yeah.
well.
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, it's them too. They've made the transition and they've done it in a way they're still performing to the same level as they were before.
I don't disagree. Right, so there's our sort of what we think is the best quarterback bar them sort of. I think we can all agree the top four by quite a distance. But last question I've got for you all. The Rookie of the Year nominees were announced today. So you have Jane Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Bo Nix, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr., and Bucky Irving. Now, I'd just like to point out, before we talk about any of them, I'd argue that any of these six could win it and it wouldn't be the wrong decision. I think they've all had unbelievable rookie years, all things considered, and it's probably one of the best rookie classes we've seen in a long time. With that being said, we do have to pick a winner. So, I mean, I'm going to get Kian out of the way because I know what he's going to say and it's pointless wasting time. So, Kian, just say what you want to say.
Jaden Daniels.
Oh, okay.
As much as I love Bowers and I think he's an unbelievable season, it's a quarterback award. It always will be a quarterback award. And if it's not quarterbacks, they're going to look to wide receivers. A tight end is not going to win it unless it's a really, really bad year for rookies. He should get all the plaudits, and he is getting all the plaudits, but I don't think he'll win an award for what he's done. But, you can't overlook his season, broken 2 long-standing records. But Daniels has got his team to the divisional round. No one else on that ball can say that. And he's performed consistently throughout the year as well. So I see no way that it shouldn't go to Jaden Daniels.
Max?
I just can't get over it. I'm just Googling something right now. Brock Bowers is 22. Look at that hairline, man.
It's so bad, eh?
I can't get over it. Anyway, look, all of these players have had really good rookie seasons, and all of them, apart from Irvin, are in quite bad situations, and they've made them situations better for some of them. Maybe not Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers, or Brian Thomas. It's like Kian said, it's quarterback award, and if you're coming down to Daniels and Nix, I think Jaden's had the better season. But all of these rookies have been really good this season. Some of my favorite players to watch. We're doing an NFL Honors episode at some point, so we've kind of spoiled this one. But what I've got written down is Daniels to win it, and then my honourable mentions were Bo Nix, Neighbors, and Bowers. So I think it's Daniels, yeah.
Kid?
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is Jaden Daniels. He's come into this team. He's completely turned their entire trajectory around. He's come in. He's already won them a playoff game. I think it's a great draft class, and a lot of these players are going to have long careers in the NFL and play at high levels. But based on just this season, it has to be Jaden Daniels just because of what he's done for the franchise.
I think people are going to look back on this draft class in a few years and be like, that was a good one.
Yeah. As Kian said, it's a quarterback award, so it's always going to be. And as much as I adore Malik Neighbors and he's been unbelievable, but as I said, I genuinely believe you couldn't really argue if any of these were given the award. Like, they've all been brilliant and they've all improved their franchises. So it's a quarterback award at the end of the day. And as much as I love Bo Nix, and I think the story of Bo Nix is better than Daniels as far as how much he was written off at the start of the year as a reach and not a good quarterback, and he's been brilliant. It's Jane Daniels now taking his team to divisional round. I think at the end of the day, they're just going to look at that and who's done better. And at the end of the day, he's taking his team further. So I feel like it's going to have to be Jane Daniels. I think, yeah, as I said, Bo Nix, I love the whole story behind it of how he was so badly criticised at the draft at the time, and he's proven everyone wrong. And I'm sure he will continue to throughout the whole of his career. As I said, Neighbors, Bowers, Tom, they've all been great. I think Bowers is probably already top 3 tight ends in the league, maybe already.
I think he was the best tight end in the league this year.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But I think that just in general now speaking, I think he's probably top 3, top 4 already.
Yeah,
and it's only 1 season. So I think he's going to be great. Brian Thomas has revolutionised any form of fun that Jags offense could have this season. It's about
I think they need to get another Brian Thomas in Jacksonville just to I think
probably
that's what they need to give Trevor Lawrence. They need to give him another tall, fast receiver like a Ted McMillan or something.
Yeah, it's pretty the same with us for Malik Neighbors, because honestly, Neighbors saved any face of this season being terrible. I think we wouldn't have won a single game without him. And Bucky Irving has been great since he stepped in for Tampa and will probably be their running back of the future. So I think, I'm going to give it to Jane Daniels. Much you're probably all surprised I'm not giving it to Bo Nix, which I'd love to, but at the end of the day.
It's sad about Bo Nix because he's not going to get another chance at an award. He's retiring this year because obviously it's nearly his 40th birthday.
But I think Daniels at the end of the day, they're going to look at who took their team further in the playoffs. At the end of the day, the fact they both took their teams to the playoffs when I don't think anyone expected either of them ready to get there this season is really impressive. I don't think anything should be taken away from Bo Nix because of how good Daniels been. I think they should just both be given the plaudits they both deserve, as well as the other 4 nominees should all get the plaudits because they've all been brilliant. But for me, I'm going to leave it to Daniels.
I'll be found another way to rant about Bo Nix, by the way. Like, it happens every 20 minutes.
I reckon you speak about him in your sleep. Yeah, to be fair, in fairness to Bo Nix, I'm not really one that gives him any plaudits because of who he plays for. But he has got better throughout the season. I remember when we played them very early on and Crosby had to walk over to the line and go, Bo, speak up, they can't fucking hear you, because his audibles were so quiet that no one knew what was happening. So he has improved, but it's Daniel's award for me.
So you've got Matt to blame for Bo Nix being good.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'd also like to point out, if people forget games like the Chiefs game for the Broncos, it wasn't for that stupid block field goal, he would have actually beaten Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs this season.
So would Aiden O'Connell, to be fair. So it's not.
Yeah. It's true, but anyway,
the Browns, right?
I think that's the call to sort of end it there. So that is this week's episode done. As we said, this is one whole episode. So let us know in the comments if you prefer this format or if you prefer splitting it into a review and predictions episode. But this week it should be, as you've already realised, one big episode. But thank you to Caden, Max, and Kian for joining me, and we will see you all next week for the NFC and AFC Championship games.
Follow the TikTok.